Talking about the White House admitting that it does flag posts and trends about what it considers misinformation, especially when it comes to the vaccine, to Facebook. Facebook responding in a statement, "We will not be distracted by accusations which aren't supported by the facts. The fact is that more than 2 billion people have viewed authoritative information about COVID-19 and vaccines on Facebook, which is more than any other place on the internet. More than 3.3 million Americans have also used our vaccine finder tool to find out where and how to get a vaccine. The facts show that Facebook is helping save lives, period." This after President Biden said Facebook is essentially killing people by allowing disinformation to sit on its platform. Let's bring in our panel. Ben Domenech, publisher of The Federalist, Morgan Ortagus, former State Department spokesperson, and Juan Williams is a Fox News analyst. Morgan, let me start with you. You know the days when you put something out there and then the next day it's a cleanup on aisle 4. It felt a little bit like that today at the White House as they were trying to clarify what exactly they meant with flagging posts and how far that went.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head there, Brett. And what's really sort of unfortunate about all of this is not the way, it's been proven, this is not the way to convince people to get vaccines. If you want to convince Americans to get vaccines, don't tell them that big government and big tech are colluding from the White House podium. What you should be doing is encouraging people to talk to their primary care physician and local clinics and doctors that they know and trust. That's how you get Americans to take more vaccines, when they talk to their medical professionals as they should. And what's concerning to me about this, Brett, is this just seems like the combination of big government and big tech. It sounds very authoritarian, and it's eerily reminiscent to me of things that you see the Chinese Communist Party doing, like giving their citizens a social credit score. Seems like that could never happen in this country, but there's a lot of things that have happened in the past year that we thought could never happen in this country.
The U.S. embargo is absurdly cruel. And like other U.S. policies, particularly other U.S. policies targeting Latin Americans and Latinos, the cruelty is the point.
The only embargo on Cuba is the one the Cuban government has imposed on its own people. Do you know who the #1 food exporter to Cuba is? The United States of America. The Cuban government will not allow a Cuban to own a business. You can't open a hardware store in Cuba. They won't let you. Fishermen can't sell their fish to people in Cuba. Farmers can't sell their food. They're the ones that have an embargo against their own people.
Well, the Cuba dissident campaign continues, although smaller numbers, but in South Florida it is on fire as they're trying to say that the Cuban government is losing control. We're back with our panel, Ben, Morgan, and Juan. Morgan, you heard Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez talk about the cruelty of the embargo. In this context is pretty interesting.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez needs to go to Versailles tomorrow with Rachel Campos-Duffy on Fox and Friends and have breakfast with Cuban Americans, and I'm being quite serious about this, and learn about what actually goes on in Cuba, because that statement is utterly ridiculous. These people have been oppressed from this regime for decades. They have done what every authoritarian regime does when the people protest, which is they cut off the internet, they cut off the means of communication, and this has been a very slow and weak response by this administration. We should be standing up for a human rights massacre that could possibly happen 90 miles from our shores.
We're going to do a lightning round here, winners and losers. Just want to point out we're following all of that, but officially, again, the numbers are very, very small. Okay, Morgan, winner, loser.
Winner of the week is Miller Lite. They got a lot of free publicity from Texas state Democrats who were famously drinking Miller Lite on their social media on their way to D.C. I think I'll have one after the show. And loser of the week. I hate to do this because he seems like a nice guy, but Tony Blinken, Secretary of State, has just screwed it up this week. He screwed up the response to Cuba, definitely not strong enough. He also asked the Human Rights Council at the United Nations to investigate the U.S. for racism, give me a break, and then later told diplomats that they could admit U.S. failures whenever doing diplomacy overseas. 3 big fails.
All right. Juan, lightning, winner or loser?
60 million American children with these big checks going out. We have a 14% child poverty rate. This could make a big difference. And the loser, the New York Yankees, one of my favorite teams, but 6 players with COVID as the second half gets started.
Ben, winner or loser?
Winner, Britney Spears for pursuing the cause of reforming conservatorship in America, and loser, anybody who disagrees that she's not one of the greatest pop stars of our generation.
You know, I think bringing up Britney Spears 4 times in 1 week, I think is really, it might be a record on this show. All right, thank you, panel. When we come back, notable quotables.